Careers of the Future in the Chemical Industry chat. So my name is Evita Tasiopoulou. I'm a STEM project manager, and I will be moderating today's session. Our chat is jointly organized by Scientix, the Community for Science Education in Europe, and STEM Alliance, the initiative that is bridging the gap between education and industry by promoting STEM careers in Europe. Today's chat is quite special because it is supported by EPCA, the European Petrochemical Association. Thanks to your massive response and your registrations, we are expecting to reach more than 300 students today and more than 14 countries. So we are expecting participants from Romania, from Greece, from Italy, from Ukraine, from Poland, Turkey, Serbia, and many more countries that I haven't written on my list yet. So as a reminder for our audience, our session is going to last for 1 hour and 30 minutes, and most of the time is going to be dedicated to questions that are going to come from you and your classes. In case you encounter any technical problems, feel free to write in the chat, and my colleague who is behind the scenes at the moment, Bjorn, he's going to try and help you in the best way possible. If you are looking for the chat, you can find it at the right and bottom of your screen. So as a reminder, today's chat is going to focus on the topic of careers and skills in the chemical industry. And for this reason, we have with us two very special speakers. We have Alain Hadorn. He's a Deputy Managing Director from the Business Unit Liquids from Bertschi. And also we have Ben Nagels, the Commercial Manager for Belgium from the Royal Vopak. So welcome to both of you. Thank you for coming and joining us. And let's start with a short introduction for each one of you and your companies. So let's start with Alain first.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for the invitation in here. It's a huge pleasure for me to be here. And to all of you, to the schools, to the students, I would like to express my sincere thanks for your interest in this chat. And my name is Alain Hadorn. I'm working for the Bertschi Group. The Bertschi Group, we are a global logistics service provider specialized in the transportation of chemical goods, chemical products, chemical liquids, and dry bulk transportation. We are based in Switzerland. Our headquarters is there, and we were founded in 1956. Our turnover is at around 975 million Swiss francs per year, so around 900 euros. We are organized in 4 business units. One of them is the business unit Liquids, where I'm currently working. For this business unit, we are transporting chemical liquids in bulk containers. Then we have the business unit Dry Bulk, where we are transporting powders or granules. And we also have a global business unit, where we are transporting the chemical goods around the world, let's say. And also the smallest business unit is the business unit Solutions, where we are providing value-added services for our customers. Currently, we are employing around 3,050 employees. We have 77 subsidiaries in 38 countries, and we are providing, I would say, a high-quality service for our customers. In Central Europe, we have subsidiaries almost in every country, and major subsidiaries of us outside of Europe are in Shanghai, Singapore, Houston, Moscow, Sao Paulo, Dubai, and also Istanbul. We are not a typical 4PL company, so we are a transportation company with own assets. We have 35,700 own tanks, liquids, and also dry bulk tanks. Tank containers, we have 1,100 own trucks, and as I said already, 30 container terminals. We are proud to say that we are the market leader in Europe for intermodal transport. So whenever it's possible, we are transporting our goods by rail, of course, even though that we have our own fleet with 1,100 trucks, but whenever it is possible, we are putting, let's say, the containers on a train. Of course, we are also using vessels and pure road transport as only as a minor part of it. And today, it's much more important. I mean, in the whole market, it is easy to transport a chemical good. Not that easy, but not that special to transport a good from A to B. Mm-hmm. So our customers are expecting from us that we are providing additional services, and that's why we are always looking to provide them value-added services so that they could optimize their supply chain. And as you have announced it, I'm currently in the role of the deputy of our managing director of, I've mentioned the 4 business units, and I'm the deputy for the liquids business unit.
Very nice, very interesting. Thank you for that. So let's find out a bit more about Vopak.
Vopak, indeed. Thank you. Well, also from my side, very happy to be here and to have this chat with you. Myself, I'm Ben. I'm a commercial manager of Vopak in Belgium. What is Vopak? Vopak is the market leader in independent storage of bulk liquids and gases like oil, chemicals, LPG, LNG, biofuels, veg oils, you name it, we store it. We have over 400 years of experience, not storing chemicals and oil, but we started more than 400 years ago as a Dutch company storing herbs and spices, and actually have gone through an evolution of always adapting our company and our solutions to what the world needs. On a worldwide basis, we employ almost 6,000 people. We operate a global network of a bit under 70 terminals in 24 countries, so even a bit more international than the crowd today. We are located at strategic locations. We try to be located along major trade routes so that our terminals can function as distribution terminals or hub terminals to accommodate these trade flows. Our total capacity is 37 million cubes, and all that summed up gives us a yearly revenue of 1.3 billion euros. The mission of Vopak is to store vital products with care. And what does that mean? That we want to enable the storage and delivery of products that are vital to the economy and to our daily lives, and we do that with care. And that means that we have a very strong focus on safety and sustainability, which is becoming more and more important and is for us number one priority. For the future, I said in the beginning that we've always adapted our company and our strategy to the needs of today and of the future. We see that the world needs changing infrastructure solutions for changing energy systems. The energy transition is fully going on, and we want to support that transition. At the same time, we invest heavily in innovation, digitization, which is, obviously very important and becoming even more important in the future. That's a bit as an introduction of Vopak.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Many thanks to both for your introductions. I think we are now ready. I definitely have questions, so I'm sure our audience definitely has some. So the floor is open. So we are ready to receive some questions. And I see some people typing, but while they're typing, I would like to ask you if you can share with us a little bit about your personal journey. So what were your studies, like your school and university experience, and how you ended up working in the specific companies? Who wants to start? Alain?
Yeah, I can start. Well, in my case, I would say I have a rather, not say weird education, but I'm not typical for the STEM area. And I did my studies at the University of St. Gallen, where I ended up my study with a master in law and economics. And then I decided first to step into the law business. I did a law traineeship in a huge law firm in Zurich, and that time I wanted to become a lawyer. unfortunately, or not unfortunately, when I started my internship, I realized already that, well, law is quite interesting. I do not regret that I studied law, but it is not my passion, I would say.
Yeah.
But I invested already a lot in this field, so I decided, let's do the bar exam and get my experience as a lawyer, and then try to step in the STEM business or in the transportation business, because since I'm a child, I'm quite fascinated about planes, trucks, trains, containers. So I ended up as a lawyer, and I worked in a law firm in Zurich. And then by coincidence, I saw a friend of mine. We studied together in St. Gallen, and we had a beer at night. And I asked him, what currently are you doing? And he told me that he's working for Bertschi and what they are doing. And then I said, who's Bertschi? What are they doing? He explained it to me, and then he showed me a picture of this kind of yellow truck and a special tank container. And I said, is this company? And then what have you done there? And he said, well, I started as a trainee there. I had to really start, I would say, at the bottom. I had to enter orders. I had to start as a customer service representative, and then I could build up my career. And then I said, well, this is quite fascinated. I would like to work for Bertschi as well. And so I applied for Bertschi, and yes, I got a job there as well as a trainee. I started, like my colleague, I started as a customer service representative. Then I was a planner for France that time. I was responsible for 30 trucks, 30 drivers, and then I had the opportunity to also get insight in our quotations department, working for tenders, and step by step I could grow within the company. And finally, as I mentioned it at the beginning, I'm the deputy of the business unit where I started, without, let's say, any STEM education.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it's a little bit weird. I do not regret what I did in the past, but I think because the topic of today is also skills.
Yes.
For the STEM education, and I think I'm the best example that you do not need special skills for this area. You just need motivation, pleasure. You need to be eager to learn, thinking out of the box, stepping out of the comfort zone, I would say, and then it's totally fine in this area. You just need to be happy to learn new things. And this is, I really would like to motivate all of you students, if you're interested in the transportation and chemicals, try your luck, because it's really a great opportunity to work in this field with a lot of fun and a lot of specialities. And
that's a beautiful message to have right from the start. It's about having the curiosity, to having that drive.
Just
it's exactly
curiosity,
that.
interest for new things, and that's it.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's see.
Yeah. So, you got my interest, Alain. Where can I apply?
Let's see if Ben can get us equally interested.
Well, we'll see. As for me, actually, I recognize myself a bit in your story, Alain. It's I started in economics and math direction, and I quickly chose to go further on the path of the economic side. After a few years of study, I got into an additional study, which was an MBA, but also on economics. So really a very economical, financial background. I started with Vopak also as a kind of a management trainee at the finance department, at the sales department. I went into operations. And actually what I saw there is very comparable to what Alain says, is that Vopak is, well, very operational. It's a technical company. It requires a lot of, well, knowledge on innovation, technology, chemicals, well, all these kind of things. But you also need people in the same company with another mindset, with more an entrepreneurial mindset. Ideally, you can combine all of these personal assets, of course, but the company really needs a variation of different people. And even in the case of very, very companies that are in the heart of the chemical or the chemical industry, for example, well, a lot of skills are needed there. So I think to a lesser extent it matters to what you're really good in, but if you focus on what you're good in and you really put your heart into it and you combine that with an entrepreneurial mindset, I think that can get you very far in your career. Yeah.
Very, very nice.
I fully agree.
Yeah, very inspirational. Thank you both. Okay, so let's move on to the questions from our students. So let's see. So the first one that we have is like, what is it like to work in the chemistry industry? So I think that from your perspective, like from the position that you are in, if you can give us like a small description of like a day at work, let's say, a day at the office. What kind of tasks does that entail? Do you want to start, Alain?
In my position, it is difficult because really I can say that I have no special schedule for my day. So every day is a new day, and let's be honest, every day there's a new challenge.
So unpredictable.
Yes, unpredictable. I mean, for instance, in our business unit, they are working more than 200 employees. So it could be that on one day you are totally busy only with HR topics because they have problems or there was an issue in the planning department, what else. Another day you will have, for instance, last week we had a container on a vessel which was on the way from the UK to Antwerp, and then suddenly there was water in the engine of the vessel. And then the vessel wanted to declare a general average. And our container was there, and the container was loaded with a product which had to go to Hungary, and they needed the product immediately. And then, of course, there were questions from the customer, what will happen? And we were not aware what we have to do at the first stage, because it is not regularly that you have this general average case, and then you have to focus totally on this case. And then another day, there you have customer visits like you need to negotiate with customer for prices, for contract extensions, price increases, etc. You need to find new drivers. Or 2 years ago, I think 2 to 3 years ago, there was this huge rail interruption in Germany where a railway line was totally blocked, and then you had to set up a task force how you can deal with this case. So it is really unpredictable what you have to do. The whole thing is, or simply to say that you need to run, or, as I said, my boss have to run with myself the business unit. We have to fulfill the customer requirements. We have to make our customers happy. We are a service company, which means that we are providing services. And this is what is really fascinating for me, that every day when I come in the office, I do not know what will happen. And so and especially regarding the question for the chemistry industry, what I think is fascinating there, especially for the transportation company, I was not aware that almost everywhere, I mean also in this chair, it could be that Bertschi transported a good which was needed for this chair.
Yeah.
I was fascinated. I have 2 small boys, and I was not aware that for instance in diapers there is a really, really dangerous good in it, which Bertschi, for instance, is transporting. And when you use this product itself and then you blend it with another one, it is no more dangerous for the diapers. But it's fascinating that really a toxic product is in diapers and nobody knows, and this is why it's just fascinating to working in the chemical industry.
That's very nice. Yeah, it shows like the variety. There's a lot of variety. Ben, have you experienced the same?
Yeah, maybe on top of what Alain said, it's a very international industry, I think, which is well interconnected. So a country or a company can never stand on its own. You need to work together with different companies all over the world, importing certain goods or exporting or using the connection and also the knowledge of different companies to make certain things work. So that makes it for a very diverse and international atmosphere with a lot of different cultures. So that makes it very, very exciting to work. I get to travel quite a lot, and that makes that you get into contact also with different cultures, new lifestyles. It also as a person, it's kind of an enrichment rather than focusing on on your own company and focusing on what's happening in your own personal circle. But it as a company, I think, especially in this industry, you can't survive without having these global partnerships and really focusing on the bigger picture. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So obviously a very dynamic sector with a lot of variety. So let's move on to our next question, which has to do with safety. So how do your companies ensure safety at work?
It's very a good question because you can imagine we are working in the chemical industry. As I said, we are moving toxic goods, and that's why safety has really a top priority within our company, and also I would say within the chemical industry. We at Bertschi, we are living, I would say, a safety culture. For instance, all of our drivers, when they start with Bertschi, we invite them to come to Switzerland. We have our own education center there where we train our drivers according to our standards. We want that every single driver of us has the same safety standard as the others, and that they are really living the safety culture within our group. And then we have every year we are organizing more than 70 drivers trainings, which means that we have to train our drivers regarding safety aspects. We do this in several places in Europe, and also our employees from the office, they need to attend these events, for instance. Then if a driver, for instance, can provide or can issue a near miss case, which is a situation where danger could occur, but the driver was able to protect this situation, that this danger did not occur, then we are awarding him with a voucher. We are announcing him within the company that the driver or the employee, also the office employee, did this, and then we have kind of a wall where we hang the picture of him up and say we congratulate him for his safety awareness and for his protecting, I would say, behavior. On the same time, if we are starting customer meetings, we always start the meetings with a safety share, where we invite the customer as well to present himself, how he's doing the safety in his company, or how his safety culture looks like. And I think with this, yes, we are really, as I said, living this kind of safety culture. We are also launching, for instance, campaigns regarding safety. 5 years ago, we built up our own career, which was named Stop at Risk. And we wanted to train all of our employees, whenever a risk is occurring, that they stop their work immediately and then they take a break, think, for instance, can I really do this? What is expected from me? Shall I continue or shall I not? Shall I inform? Shall I escalate it or whatever? And we have seen that with this campaign, even the slogan is quite simple, but we were able to reduce, for instance, our internal accidents by more than 30%. So,
very interesting. Ben?
Well, I think safety within the complete industry is priority number one. I think talking for Vopak, we have this slogan: if safety is not your first priority, you will not work for Vopak. So that's very clear. But I think safety goes far beyond personal safety. And we have kind of a SHEQ policy. A SHEQ stands for safety, health, environment, and quality. So it's all in the fields of sustainability, of avoiding any pollutions to air or water or to the environment. That's for us all related to safety. I think it's a continuous effort to strive to reduce our impact on any of these fields, and it's a big challenge, of course, because the industry is it's especially in some parts of the world it's an older industry, and a lot of efforts are going on to renew and to improve, but to some extent it at this moment still remains an older industry. So we really need new technologies, new ideas to drastically further improve that. We need young people to do that, of course. But it's it's definitely for the complete industry. It's not a discussion that this is a very important topic. It's where I think, let's say, when I started with Vopak, and that's not so long ago, it's only 10 years ago, I think safety, if you were focusing on safety as a company, that could be a differentiator towards any competitor who was maybe not so much focusing on safety and environment. Today, what I see is that that's just basic, that's your license to operate, because if you don't do that, you're out of business. So it's in everybody's interest to have that topic as first on the agenda. Yeah.
Fully agree. Yes.
Yeah.
We have one more question still related to safety. I think you have partly answered it, but it says, what if something goes wrong with what you transport? It's quite generic because I guess, of course, it depends. There are all sorts of things that can go wrong. You gave us an example, Alain, already, but is there something that you would like to add in that sense? I imagine that you have very specific procedures and very specific.
We have internal procedure. We have a quality department as well. So if we have an accident or a case like this, we are really working together with this quality department. They have the knowledge of it, what to do, who you need to inform, and what internal procedures afterwards you need to do. Of course, what is important, or what I really would like to stress out in this situation, the most important thing, if something is going wrong, I would say, is afterwards, when the case is sorted out, that you really analyze it. And then that you are taking actions, internal measures out of this case, so that you
learn from it.
Learn it. This is, I would say, the most important thing.
Ben, do you have anything to add? I guess it's a similar approach for your company as well.
It is. It's well, maybe in depth, not so much to add what Alain said. I think different procedure, because we don't transport, but we store products. But in essence, it's we handle these chemical products, which are not ours. It's the customers of the products of our customers. So I think in general, the way of working is pretty similar.
Our next question is a little bit more personal. So what subject did you enjoy when you were at school? Alain?
Long time ago. Difficult to say. I mean, I was a student who, being honest, sometimes I was not. My studies was not the best time in my life, because I was always a little bit nervous about the exams. Can I reach the exams, or what else? But I enjoyed is to learn new things, and especially if you start working, there are always some small steps or some small points where you can recall, this I learned during my studies. But on the other hand, I regret that after a few years of working, that you forget a lot of things what you have learned again. And that's why I think the most interesting thing during studying is that you learn how to learn things and how to find your way to deal with a new topic. And it is not the content of a topic, it is just that you are able to find your own way, because afterwards at work there will be no guidelines, there will be no teacher, so you just get a topic and then you need to find out how you can deal with it. And this is more or less, but subjects I cannot really recall.
Yeah, you didn't have a favorite, but that's very important what you said. And this is actually this knowledge of learning how to learn and how to find information and how to prioritize, making priorities. That's the thing that it's transferable to the working life.
The best thing there is always, when my friends knew that I was studying law, they always asked me, hey, what is in this article 520? And then I said, I have no idea, because I don't care what is in this special article. I just need to know where I can find this article, because it is written in a book.
Yeah.
So I need to learn how to deal with it. How can I find my way, or when I need to look for this article, but the content of it is not important.
Yeah. Ben?
Well, my favorite part at school was actually I had a very practical education with lots of projects for companies, internships, and what's so on. And actually, that was the main reason why I picked that direction in this economical field. I liked the most to be very practical, to work with companies, to do certain projects or investigations for companies, to have internships at a company. But I think the most important thing I learned there, and maybe also the most important lesson that I would like to give to you today, is if you do something for a professional company, no matter what, I think you don't require any knowledge to have a right attitude, to be interested, to be entrepreneurial, to take ownership of your projects. I think that not only as a student but also as a later employee at some point in your life, I think that's the most important thing you can have. And of course you need to have skills and knowledge, and school is there to develop those. But I think in a company, if you can combine these with the right attitude, then you're off to a good start.
I just see there is mathematics relevant to your job. To quickly answer this question, yeah, in my job is quite important because we are dealing with price negotiations, and you need, of course, you have to do a budget. You need to fix what kind of turnover you can reach. You need to do forecasts. What else? So you're dealing with numbers. But of course, today you're doing a lot with Excel, and Excel can really support you. Again, here is the way you can deal with mathematics is important. Not that you are the best in mathematics. At school I was not the best, I would say, in mathematics. But today I like to deal with numbers, and I'm quite familiar with it.
Yeah.
But you cannot say that don't focus on it. But it is.
Yeah, it's not about making calculations.
Exactly.
It's about understanding what is behind those numbers,
and
what they stand
for. It helps
for.
you a lot, of course, if you have a huge understanding of it, the formulas which are behind it. But here again, if you really want to learn it, you can do it.
You can do it. Completely agree. That takes a bit the pressure of mathematics and of those students that maybe they are not performing in the close environment of school, but it doesn't mean that they cannot understand the numbers, that they cannot work with numbers and combine them. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, it comes in very handy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody should, in your career, that you need to be the absolute expert, but it's really, mathematics is in a lot of jobs that I see very, very relevant. And of course, Excel solves a lot, but having the insight and being able to also understand and to have a feeling of what you're doing. Is it financially, or is it more related to growth projects, or is it related to customer negotiation? I think there mathematics always plays a big role. So yeah, it's good to have that insight. I agree. Yeah.
One more personal question. Who used to be your idol or role model, if you had one? When you were young, when you were little, young you still are. That's not an issue.
For me, this is quite simple to answer. I'm Swiss, so Roger Federer, of course, is quite idol for us, because I think he's humble, he's fascinating how he's dealing, how he's playing tennis. Also now with his still young age, but of course regarding sports, he's already older. But Roger Federer is quite an important person. I would say also for all Swiss people.
Yeah, quite a dynamic role model there. What about you, Ben?
My role model. I have a lot of respect for Richard Branson.
Okay.
It's for people who don't know him, it's an entrepreneur He has a lot of different companies. He dares to take risks, but he has a huge respect for people, and I think that in the business is also very, very important. It's crucial. Yeah. He has this quote: "You don't need to take care of your customers. Take care of your employees, and they will take care of your customers."
Very nice. Yeah, true. Okay, so moving back to the workplace. So where is your work carried out and under what conditions? So that means, in a sense, physically. You mentioned, both of you, that you are traveling a lot as well. So you are not fixed on a desk.
I mean, during my training year, of course, I was based in the headquarters in Switzerland, and within Bertschi, it is really important. They want that you really learn the business from A to Z. They want that you start, as I said, at the bottom, and then you need to invest quite a lot of time. I mean, the first 2 to 3 years, I was 90% in the headquarters in Switzerland. What I wanted to do there is, I forgot when I introduced myself, or what was really nice for me, I wanted to also know what our drivers are doing. Mm-hmm. So that's why I had the opportunity to pass my truck driver's license, and then I drove 3 months for Bertschi as well. I did a transport for the chemical goods, but it was really one of the best time in my life within Bertschi, because there I really learned what the driver has to do and what kind of responsibility he has to do. And I was fascinated about the weight of the trucks. We are transporting 28 tons and liquid products, so it is really fascinating if you are braking, and then you can really hear, and also when the chemical goods is moving on the containers, and the truck is even moving a little bit, even as you're standing on the brake. So this was quite fascinating. Wow. And now, of course, I have my office still in the headquarters in Dürnach, but I'm traveling quite a lot. For instance, yesterday I arrived here in Brussels. I had a meeting, and then today I have the pleasure to be here. Tonight I have to fly to Bordeaux in France for a 2 days meeting, and next week, luckily, I will be on vacation, but the week afterwards I will start again on Monday in the headquarters, and then on Tuesday, Wednesday I have to fly to Romania. So it includes quite a lot of traveling, but it depends on the position. Yeah. Traveling is not always easy. As I said, I'm a father of 2 boys. For the family situation, it is not the easiest job I'm doing at the moment, but I like to do it, and to be around. And today, I mean, being honest, today with Wi-Fi, internet, you can work. It doesn't matter where you are. You can work from everywhere. We are connected to the servers, to the intranet, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. Conditions, I don't know what exactly you mean with condition. It always depends as well on the position.
Like you mentioned, sometimes you have to work on the run. Exactly. I can imagine airports, hotels, meeting rooms, lobbies, anything, or you can be really on the ground, most probably, as you said. So I think this is what they meant, that there is a variety again, that you are not fixed, and it has to be flexible. What about you, Ben?
Well, with regards to traveling, my work over the past years has changed a bit. Before, I was responsible for certain customers doing sales. Then I used to travel quite a lot, going to conferences, meeting customers, trying to find new customers. So really very commercially driven. Today I'm responsible for the team that does the sales work. So I tend to travel a bit less. Well, traveling to some extent is very nice. You get to see different places, meet with different people. And now I sometimes feel I'm more, busy in the office doing budgets, which is not always that exciting, but it's very important. I'm working on growth projects, for example. That's also a part of my work. I think it's all about striking the right balance between what your job requires and what you can put in as a person. I'm also a young father of two girls. And since this year, I have an arrangement with my boss that I work 90%. So 1 day every 2 weeks I'm at home to compensate a bit for the traveling, and often I'm either way or you're not home. So it's I think that's becoming more and more common in the industry that people also want to take care of themselves, want to find a right balance between professional life and personal life. People like to do sports, like to meet up with friends, see family, have kids, buy a house, get a career, and that's all. Well, I see that with a lot of young people trying to combine that in the first years of their career. Well, that can cause a lot of stress, and I think it's very important to try to keep the right balance there. It's often busy, but luckily we're all young, so a lot of energy to cope with that. But it's good to take care of yourself as well. Yeah.
Very nice message as well. Okay, so our next one. What is the biggest challenge you face in your work? Alain?
Well, I think as I already said, that is unpredictable, what we have to do every day. And currently, I mean, for us as a transportation company, the biggest challenge we have at the moment is I think all of you have already heard about it, is driver shortage. Because we need professional truck drivers, and today nobody wants to become a truck driver anymore. I mean, sometimes I can totally understand it, because you have traffic jams every day. I mean, especially in Antwerp, if you are there, you are standing hours and hours in a traffic jam. And also, I would say the image of the drivers is not the best today, which is really a pity, because, as I said, I know what they have to do and the responsibility they have, and sometimes how they are treated from us. I think this is not fair against them, because they have not an easy life. As I said, traffic jam, and also they have to work at height. They have to work, for instance, if they are unloading products when it is really hot, they have to wear gas masks or what else. So it is also a big effort what they are doing, and that's why when I'm driving my car, for instance, and if I see a truck and he needs kind of support, help, so that he can cross the street, I try to step down myself as well and give him priority, because this is really important that we respect them, because without truck drivers today, we would not have the standard we have at the moment. And I can, before I come to another challenge, I could link this as well for the question, what is the importance of chemistry in day-to-day life? I mean, without chemical products, being honest, as I said, we would not have cell phones, we would not have chairs,
it's everything, our laptops,
everywhere
everything.
There is a chemical product in it. And this is also the fascinating thing, as I mentioned it already, that everywhere you are, there is chemical stuff in it. And almost everywhere there is also a part of Bertschi, because we are transporting this. Another challenge we face at work is, of course, digitalization today. I mean, a lot of new companies, startups, which are kind of competitors to us. They are new transportation companies, for instance, without own assets. They just have platforms, digital platforms. And I think today it is important that a company has a good digitalization strategy, and that they, I would say in simple words, that they do not miss the train of the digitalization, because if you have not a quite a huge, important and good IT, you are out today. And this is, I think, one of the biggest challenge we are facing in the future.
Thank you very much, Alain. What about you, Ben? What is your biggest challenge that you face at work?
Talking about Vopak, I think the biggest challenge, if we look at it on a worldwide basis, is to keep on coping with changing dynamics. For example, here in Northwest Europe, there's a big focus on energy transition. And what does this mean for Northwest Europe? Moving away from oil and gas, for example, moving into more sustainable technologies like hydrogen, like solar power, and so on. Vopak does investments. We recently took a share in a company that provides for the logistics of hydrogen as a clean and sustainable energy source for the future. We've invested, or we are investing, in solar parks on our terminals, next to our terminals, on roofs of tanks, for example. And at the same time, we are selling, for example, oil assets here in Northwest Europe. At the same time, in other parts of the world, we are investing heavily in oil assets, for example, because these parts of the world, they currently use coal, for example, or cow dirt for their heating, and they want to move to cleaner fuels like oil and gas, which is, in the light of how we see it in Northwest Europe, strange, but in the light of that country or that region, it's also kind of an energy transition. So for a company, it's very well. You need to adhere to local technologies and local. Well, you can't go from A to Z without going the full route for some parts of the world. So that's a challenge. And at the same time, digitization, like Alain mentioned, is a very hot topic as well. I think today, if I look at the sales field, for example, we're still working very much on a very personal basis, having personal contact with our customers, going to conferences, meeting with them, and so on and so on. But we also see in our personal lives that 10 years ago, we didn't buy too much online, for example. We all went to stores or shops, and now we tend to buy everything online. And when something is happening in B2C some years later, these trends always come to the business environment. So we're also, thinking and working on, okay, but what does that mean for us? What does this mean for my job, for example? Vopak compares itself to a hotel. 10 years ago, if you wanted to book a hotel, you went, you called the hotel, or you went to a travel agency, you took a book and you said, oh, this looks like a nice hotel. Maybe I'll give them a call to have that personal contact. Nowadays, nobody calls a hotel. You do it on an online platform and you book it. Will that mean that we will get more commodity, for example, that people don't get personally in contact, but that they just rent a tank online? Or what does that mean? And that's really a challenge that it has a lot of different sides to it. So we need to take everything into consideration. But building the strategy for the coming years to come, these are the things that we need to keep in mind. And all STEM related activities on IT, on energy transition, new technologies. It's all becoming more and more important for companies like ours. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much. So you have started a bit answering this, so let's continue. So we have started talking a little bit about the importance of chemistry, and it seems like we have some students that they need some convincing when it comes to the importance of chemistry in the day-to-day life. How do you see that from your perspective? And since you are, let's say, you are in the sector, so you are living and breathing in the chemistry sector more than anyone.
Again, it is really important. I mean,
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's in our daily life, and that's why you need to start just to invest a little bit of interest in the chemical industry, and then you will be fascinated about it. I'm pretty convinced that you would feel the same as I did, because yes, it is really everywhere, and you cannot live a life without chemical products. It's just impossible.
Ben?
It's everywhere. At the same time, I think, also here in Northwest Europe, it's growing the conscience on recycling certain products, for example, developing more sustainable products for the future. But a life without chemicals, call it plastic, but it's chemicals is much more than plastic. Of course, it's in paint, it's in every car, it's in your iPhones, it's everywhere. But we need to develop more an attitude, and that comes as a conscience all over the world, that how how we treat certain products by throwing them away. Plastics, for example, is a very, very mediatized, but also a very correct example. I think that a lot of plastic is going to waste without any recycling. Well, that's something that we cannot keep on doing. It's unsustainable. Recycling plastics doesn't mean, well, collecting all plastics and burning them. For me, that's not recycling. That's not a circular economy. What is a circular economy? Well, collecting all plastics, for example, recycling them. There's a lot of projects now under development. Plastics to oil, for example, that you convert these plastics back to raw materials that you can then again recycle into products. Well, that's really a circular economy, and that's really, well, it's still on a very small scale, but it's happening, and I think it will only grow. Its importance will only grow in the future. Yeah.
So coming back to your companies, we have very interesting questions in relation to mentorship programs. So are there in their company, is your companies like mentorship programs for young graduates, so pupils that they're soon going to graduate from school, Alain?
Mentoring program from really for pupils who will soon graduate.
I can imagine that's for upper secondary, so like for 17, 18-year-olds, so they're just out of school.
What we are offering once per year is in Switzerland. This is a so-called Father's Day, where really kids or pupils they can go one day with their fathers to their work. Then they see what the fathers are doing, and what Bertschi, for instance, is providing there is a special day where we are offering that for the kids, for the students, what they can see the whole company, what we are doing. They can do some exercise, they see a truck, they can sit in a truck, etc. And this is what we are doing for, I would say, for youngsters. Then for graduates, what we are offering is the same what I did, for instance, is the traineeship, that we are looking for graduates who would like to start a career in a transportation company with us, and then they start as like I did at the bottom. They do an education, they start with order entering, and then they becoming a planner, and they learn how our company is working and what we are doing. And then after the traineeship, which it depends always how I would not say intelligent, but how fast the students or the graduates are willing to learn. And then we are offering them like positions, like as I said, quotations, or they can go out to a subsidiary, for instance, to work there. And during this training program, they have a mentor who support them if they have questions, and they always have, how to say, a person to whom they can connect if they have problems, doubts, or what else. And we at Bertschi, we also have kind of an open door policy, so whenever they have problems, they can also step into my office or into the office of my boss. And we are a family company, so we have kind of huge amount of employees for this kind of company, but we are still a family, we would say, so that we are helping each other. We have a flat hierarchy, and as I said, we can go everywhere and we can ask questions everywhere. This is more or less what we are doing.
Very nice, very interesting. What about Vopak?
Well, for young graduates, people who already graduated, always looking for talent. We have a young graduates program. This is a program that when you step into a career, your first career steps is a 2-year development plan, actually. This is not a full-time training, but it's an on-the-job development plan where you work in different areas depending on where opportunities are and where your interest is, and hopefully that links and that matches. And during such a young graduate program, I think a lot of focus is given on training. There's always a mentor involved. So that's one area. For people still in school, we collaborate with certain schools wherever we operate. We have some links to high schools, universities, to do projects together with such with such a company, actually to give these people and give young people a taste of what business feels and looks like and how it works. But it really depends on per location what the opportunities are and how does that work. For example, in South Africa, what we're doing at this moment, maybe a very nice example to mention. We always think about young graduates as pretty academic and so on. But what we're doing there, we are building 2 new terminals in South Africa. And we said, okay, the population of Vopak, if we look at gender equality, is, well, not diverse enough at this moment, I would say. From our employees, we have approximately 6,000, 84% are men, 16% are women. Why is that? Because most of our operators, and that's a bit more than half the population that we have, so operators working in the field, loading and discharging vessels, trucks, rail tank cars, are men. It's it's a job that, well, a lot of men do, but, well, not women. And we are at this moment, we have trained a group of new female operators, 12 in total, started last year. This year we're doing a new project, a new program that also will hire more than 2 new women to join our company in South Africa, to also have, well, on all layers, to have more a gender equality. So also that for us is working on sustainability, on a company that has, well, equality on all levels. So that's really also one of the focus areas. Yeah.
Very nice. Just to go back to the skills and to connect it a little bit. So, what types of skills your companies are looking for?
Motivated students.
Motivated
Just motivated students who would like to learn new things and who are willing to learn, eager to learn, who really have a fascination about logistics, kind of, or fascinated about what I said about trucks, about how the world or the whole logistics, the supply chain is working. Then people who like to think out of the box, and also a little bit what we are expecting from them is that they are getting out of their, I would say, comfort zone. So they need to do an extra mile. We are a logistics company, so sometimes we are quite busy, and the daily life, sometimes it is quite stressful as well. So it is not the best word to say that they need thick skin. This is not that important, but of course they need to be a little bit stress resistant, I would say. But if they are willing, as I said, to learn, then they would perfectly match for our company. And especially, do not think too much that, this would be my advice, do not focus too much on what kind of skills you need, because I think skills you can train, you can learn. It is just your behavior, your attitude, how you are. This is important. And if you are, as I said, if you are fascinated about new things, then you would be very welcome within our company. And I would say also with the whole STEM area, with the whole STEM business, and especially also female students or women, you would perfectly fit in our business. That's why we would like to encourage you to try to you have nothing to lose if you try education, or at least also if you would like to start in this field, just do it. If you like to travel, if you're interested in daily products we have, then I think this is the right business for you.
Very nice. What about you, Ben?
What question, Rita?
Maybe we can change it a little bit now. So I think we have covered the whole skills thing. You have both mentioned gender balance, and Ben has also mentioned the work-life balance. So let's try to investigate a little bit how your companies are addressing those 2 issues. So first of all, gender balance. From what I understand, of course, both companies are quite eager.
We really
very open.
encourage girls and women to step into our business. I think we're striving for, on all levels, to have a balanced company, looking at any parameter, gender, race, age. I think everybody gets opportunities in our company, and also see this as a trend moving forward in the complete industry, where, well, quite some time ago, I think the conferences and the industry was dominated by white men, aged 40 plus, I think. I see that changing. I see that changing a lot, and it's a very positive evolution. So I think, the time is now to move and to step into this exciting business, because I think there's a lot of opportunities.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add.
No.
It's the same. And what about the work-life balance? We have heard that Ben has some flexibility, starting to have at least some flexibility, and it's the same. Like all companies, they seem to be more open when it comes to. And we're back. You can hear us now? Okay. So we're gonna get Ben to start again answering the whole work-life balance.
Yeah, I think well, in the industry we see a trend that there's more flexibility, personal flexibility on where you work, how you work, and how long you work, from where you work. I think it's, compared to what it used to be, much more result driven. As long as you deliver, I think you can get a lot of trust that, well, you're doing your job. There's a lot of flexibility moving into well, having the your personal aspirations right. So your work-life balance, that's, well, maybe the most tangible one. I think it's more and more a focus of employers to also cater for the needs of their employees. And I think that's a very positive evolution, because I said already, young people want to combine a lot at the same time. And sometimes, well, that's just not possible, or very difficult to do. And having the flexibility to organize your own life and your job, I think that can only help. Yeah.
Very nice. What about Bertschi? You mentioned already that you are like a family company.
What we are trying to do, I mean, it always depends on the position you're currently working. If you are a planner, we cannot offer that kind of flexibility, because we have this.
Of course.
They need to be from at a certain time at the office, because the drivers are calling them or customers are calling them. But we are trying to do is that we are offering them kind of block hours. So we said during, I think, after 8:30 and 4 p.m. everybody should be in the office, if they are not on a business trip, but what else? And we have just a fixed amount of hours they need to work a day, and then we are organized in various departments, and then the head of a department, he can define their own strategy for his team. So that, for instance, kind of people, they can start earlier in the morning and end their work earlier in the afternoon as well. And what we are not really offering is home office, because again, we have a special system how we are dealing with the orders, how we are planning the orders, and therefore you need to be present in the office. This is something. But On the other hand, as you said, yes, or as I said, we are a family, still a family. So what we are trying, we have a culture of trust. So we are, for instance, we are not counting the minutes they are working. So we know that there are peaks where they have to do OT as well, and they are, I would say, times where the workload is not that much, and then they also can leave a little bit earlier. So it is kind of a culture of trust. And whenever I mean, they have an appointment at the doctor or what else, or also a private important appointment. That's why we are a family. We are supporting them, and they don't need to take a day off if they need to go. I don't know, for a doctor or what else. And there we are quite flexible, and we try to support them as well with sport activities. For instance, we're situated in a small village, and there is a lake next to us. And once per year, for instance, Switzerland is organizing a half marathon to run with also kind of you can do the semi-half marathon or what else, or just 9 kilometers run, or team building events. And for instance, Bertschi there is paying the fee to this event, or we are helping employees as well if they would like to do education. We're supporting them. We can we do special deals with them so that they can. We are supporting them financially and also in a time manner. So because we think the employees, of course, is the most important asset we have in the company. And what we have done as well, since we are still growing at that much, we just build up a new building next to our headquarters with nice, I would say, living zones, nice park, also a barbecue station for summer. So this is what we would like to also have. We are not Google, of course. I always say we cannot provide the Google atmosphere in the logistics field, but still we are convinced that it is important to work-life balance of our employees, and also to support them in their daily life.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay, so let's move on to a more technical questions I see coming. So the first one has to do with automation. So what is your opinion on automatization, and more specifically when it comes to robots and GPS, for example, versus the human drivers that you have already mentioned?
I would say human drivers, it is a hot topic at the moment, especially for truck drivers. Personally, I'm still convinced that really a human being is needed in a truck, especially if you're transporting chemical product because of the safety reasons. But what we would like to support is this, I think it is called car pooling, for instance, on a highway where you have a special lane for trucks, and then they are building a column, and then the truck is driving automatically. This is something I could imagine that this will work out in the future, and would be, of course, a huge benefit for the driver for a long haul drive, that they can, I would say, a little bit relax. But it still needs time until we will be there. But completely automatically driving trucks, I'm not sure if this will happen in the next 5 years.
Can you see it happening in like other parts of the logistics, like other functions of the logistics area?
Difficult to answer.
Okay, but it's important to say that humans are still needed. Yes, so yes. That's the message, that that those jobs are not going to be the skills needed there that cannot be replicated through an automated system yet. What about you, Ben?
Well, I think it's really a trend of automation which is ever growing. I understand for drivers that's quite a challenge, as you mentioned. For example, on our terminals, there's quite some automation going on to automate certain processes in various fields. I think if we look at the logistics part, at the older terminals, there's a driver showing up, for example, in the truck handling area, we need to register all his coordinates in our system, give him a document so he can load. One of our operators will load the product, and afterwards administrative people will create customs and transport documents. On some other terminals, that process is completely or almost completely automated. So drivers, they do self-arrival handling. They register their own coordinates. They get what they need to load. They load themselves, and afterwards transport documents and any customs documents are created automatically. So virtually no personnel from our company is present in that process, which allows for much more flexibility. So 24/7 loading is possible. It's much more efficient. It's less prone to errors. So safety is also an important part over there. So that's an example that we see. But also in inspection of tanks, for example, last year we did a first and successful inspection of a tank. Normally, when we need to inspect our storage tanks every 5 or 7 or 10 years, depending on the tank and the product, the tank needs to be emptied, cleaned, so there can be a visual inspection inside the tank. What we did is to have kind of a drone that we put into the product while the tank was in full operation to have an inspection of the tank done. So it's, well, better for the environment because you don't need to clean, you don't have any wastewaters, there's no people involved. So also from a safety perspective, it's a big improvement. And in all these various fields, I think, well, we're working on becoming more a digital company. But I said in the beginning that safety was maybe a differentiator a number of years ago. I think what's now and for the coming years will be a differentiator as a company is in how successful you are in developing a digital strategy, but also employing and executing that strategy. So that's really, well, that's happening now, and it will become more important in the future. There's a lot of examples. Operators no longer filling in papers, but working on tablets, for example. It's everywhere, yeah, and it's ever growing.
Thank you very much. So we have received a couple of questions that are more related to environment. So the first one says, how does the chemical industry influences the environment? I guess that goes both on positives and negatives. So Alain, you want to start?
Positive, I think the industry is always trying to find new ways of production, of new products to really protect the environment. I mean, also we know that the environment, I mean, it's a political question. I mean, nobody can be against the environment. All of us, we know that we have to protect the environment, and that the environment is important. And what we are doing within Bertschi, as I said, we are specialized in intermodal transport. So we are trying to reduce CO2 emissions from trucks, from cars, using trains. So whenever it is possible, we are putting the container on the train. It makes sense. On the other hand, like Ben mentioned, cleaning containers, we are trying to reload containers with the same product, so that you don't need to clean and waste a lot of water, energy to clean it, chemical product again to clean the container. This is what we are doing, and I think the industry, the impression we have about the chemical industry sometimes it's not corresponding how really it is. We always think that plastics are negative and the chemical industry, they're just producing emissions or what else, but they are really, with the whole research and new product, new technologies, they are really trying to protect the environment, to save carbon dioxide, that we do not produce them, to save water, etc. So I think the effort we are doing already is huge, and sometimes we do not see it.
Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I think without chemicals, no solar panels, no installation of houses. I think without chemicals, all cars would be made of metal. They would use much more fuel than they use today. Your carbon race bike, well, you can't produce it without chemicals. So chemicals is everywhere, and without it, we would be stuck in the Middle Ages, I think. However, well, effort is being done, and I think more effort is needed to reach the ambitions that we set as an industry, but also on a worldwide basis, to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and to become cleaner as an industry. I think a lot can be said on these ambitions, but I think it's important that an industry, well, does that together, not certain countries only or certain parts in the world which want to be best in class, and then other countries, well, not giving on certain ambitions that we set. I think we really need to cooperate on a worldwide basis. But well, moving away from chemicals or moving away from plastics, which has a very negative sound to it nowadays, but would well bring us further away from what we're trying to reach. I think we need to find ways to become even more sustainable than we are today, and to improve on that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ben.
I also think we need to, especially what pops up in my mind is the hype at the moment for electric cars, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, I fully support electric cars, but on the other hand, we should not forget the trade-off. I mean, I read once in an article the energy, what if we just have electric cars? From where the power is coming for the electrical cars? So if you're using electrical car, but you have a fossil energy plant, then it is not really saving the environment. So I think this is quite important that we set the correct priorities. And also for the electric cars, I've read in an article, I think I could drive with my gasoline car, I think more than 200,000 kilometers until I have produced the same emissions which is needed to only build one Tesla battery. So that's why I think we need to work. Of course, as I said, we cannot be against the environment. We need to protect the environment, but we need to find technologies which are really supporting to protect the environment, and not just like putting old wines in new bottles or what else, or forgetting the trade-off of another energy you're using.
Going back to your companies, do you have any specific programs where you address teachers, or that you are bringing like students in the companies? You have mentioned already this family day that you have.
Otherwise, not special activity, special programs.
Nothing that has to do with teachers, for example, to show them.
But it is interesting, and I would like to take this up personally and to think about if we could offer. I mean, it depends what teachers are expecting, but I think it would be, of course, good. I just remember maybe Ben, like a friend of us from the YET, what they are doing in the rural area with these TUVAS activities, which is just fascinating, and something we could maybe take
I think point from here. I'm sure that taking inspiration from the questions, you can see that teachers and pupils are very much interesting on your companies, the careers, the skills, and all these kind of things. Then, is there anything in Vopak?
We support companies like EPCA and the YET, which then sponsor certain activities or support, like for example these kind of sessions like today, but also some other activities. That's what we do as a company alone. We sponsor sometimes local schools surrounding our companies to build really a community and to support that local community. But it's really up to the local needs and what the needs of that certain community are, how we operate in that. We don't want to force ourselves into a certain community, but if there is a certain need that we can support, then we're very, very happy to do so. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, we have one more question. It says, how can we use the natural substances for replacing the chemicals that are used, for example, fertilizers in agriculture? It's a quite specific question and quite technical. not sure that we can cover this at the moment, but we can definitely pass it on to people within your companies that they're more specific. So that's something that we can answer later on. And then I think we can start closing a little bit. So we have like a final thing. So from your side, what can be your advice to teachers to motivate students to pursue a career in your industry, not only, but STEM in general?
I would say try to understand the chemical industry a little bit in what Ben and myself mentioned several times, that chemical products are everywhere. So show just to the students an example what kind of products could be in their cell phones and how this is produced, how this is transported, and how it is generated. And then I think they will understand how important it is, and maybe we can, or they can motivate them with this approach. And then on the other hand, if you could go out for a day, visit a port, visit a chemical factory, do a tour there, and you will see how fascinating it is. I mean, for me, first time I was when I was in Rotterdam driving around the harbor, it's just fascinated. And then for me, it was clear that I would like to learn much more in this field. So it is just practical examples, use practical examples from daily life, and then I think the fascination is coming itself.
With the help of the companies as well, of course. Ben, what about you?
Well,
what would be your advice for teachers and students?
When I was studying, I was completely unaware of the size, the value creation, and the international business behind the chemical industry. I think there's a lot of platforms, locations, port authorities that are very eager to show what's going on in that industry. They almost all port authorities have kind of labs to show students or to show visitors what it's all about. Certain companies have that as well, and are eager to host you. I think seeing chemical industry real life helps students to become interested. And next to the fact that that's important, it's also just fun, I think, to have a day at a kind of a port authority, to get a tour. I think these companies are very eager to support and to host you. And for students, it's interesting but also fun. And I think that would be my advice: to leave the classroom from time to time, step into the real life, and get into contact with these kind of companies. And that always sparks a very nice interaction in two ways, not only for your students but also for the companies. Yeah.
That's very, very nice. Many thanks to both. I said it was the last question, but I'm not gonna hold it to my. So you're gonna don't hold that against me. But I have one more question. We are hearing a lot about there is this thing, this STEM talent thing that comes up very, very often. And there is a lot, and it creates some kind of, let's say, worries from the students as well. So I wanted to see it from your perspective, since you are both non-STEM people working in a STEM industry. So how do you define this talent? Do you think that this talent actually exists? Are there like specific skills that they're putting it together? Is it something that the students should be alarmed by? It's basically like your last chance to push the motivational skill speech that you gave us at the beginning. And I think that should be like a nice last message for the students that are with us.
For me, really, again, I don't think that.
You don't think that?
Still, this special STEM skills really exist. Of course, if you are working for instance, in a producing company, in the laboratory, then of course you need maybe other skills. Yeah. But in the STEM area in general, no. And I really hope that maybe I could convince you, or a little bit, that look at me again. I have no idea. When I started at Bertschi, I even had no idea about the chemical product, about the container. I was not aware what companies like the Dows, BASFs, etc. are doing. But I was just fascinated and I was willing to learn. That's it. And again, just try yourself. It's a fascinating area, and if you're willing to learn and try your luck in this business.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alain. Ben, any last famous words for our students?
Well, maybe to compensate a little bit. Yes, you can work in the chemical industry without having a STEM background, but for certain roles, you will definitely need it. So it depends where your personal aspiration is, what you should focus on for your educational future. But in case you don't have a STEM background, please don't let it stop you from trying to step into this very interesting and international business with a lot of opportunities for young people with talent. And what that talent is, that depends. I think give it your best shot, and you'll get there.
Thank you very much. So with this, we have reached the end of our chat. So many thanks to everyone for joining. Many thanks for all your questions and your active participation in the online part of the discussion. We triggered the live discussion as well. The recording of this video will be made available on online very, very soon in the next few days. For the people who have participated, you will also very soon receive an email with the evaluation for the chat. You can also see the link now in the chat. And don't forget that we have quite a few upcoming events, online events. The first one is on the 27th of September. We have one more webinar that is related to games and the relation between games and learning. So feel free to join then, and hopefully we're gonna see you online soon. Thanks again for joining. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.